Hi, I'm Ray Didinger, and I'm the author of the new Eagles Encyclopedia. Many of you probably remember the original Eagles Encyclopedia, which came out in 2005, right after the Eagles' trip to the Super Bowl. We just felt like enough things had happened and enough things had changed over the last decade that sort of called for a new book. Well, my Sunday ritual, I guess I have to go back to when I was a kid. My Sunday ritual when I was a kid, when I was a fan, starting from the time I was 9 years old, was my family, we would go to morning mass, and then we would go straight to my grandfather's bar. And we would meet at my grandfather's bar with all of his patrons. And my grandfather chartered a bus. And the bus would pull up Simpson Street in Southwest Philadelphia. And my family and all of my grandfather's patrons from the bar would pile on the bus. And off we would go to, well, it was Connie Mack Stadium then, and then later Franklin Field. And then we would go to the game and then get on the bus and come back to the bar. And that was a true Sunday ritual. I mean, that was acted out every single Sunday from the time I was 9 years old until I was in college, through college. And that became, I've often said that I went straight from Mass to the Eagles game, and I couldn't tell you where the religion left off and the football began. To me, they were one emotion. And there's still a little bit of that, I feel, today. I'm going to the games. I'm a reporter now, so I'm not going there wearing Eagles attire. I'm going there as a reporter. But the excitement that I feel, what I feel in my heart about going to the stadium, that level of excitement and anticipation, and the idea that you may now see something you've never seen before, even if you've seen hundreds of games, thousands of games, there's always the chance that you'll see something in this game that you've never seen before, and it happens a lot. I mean, that kind of excitement, I still feel that today just as strongly as I felt when I was 10 years old. It was 1973. The Eagles weren't a very good team. The Cowboys were a really good team. And they played a game at Veterans Stadium. And the Cowboys had beaten the Eagles 11, 12 times in a row and just dominated the series. But in 1973, they came into the vet, and the Eagles, with this kind of ragamuffin team, beat the Cowboys and beat them soundly, beat them 30-16. Sacked Roger Staubach 4 or 5 times, intercepted some passes, and played really good, played really, really good. And when the game was over, the fans just poured out of the stands and onto the field and surrounded the coaches and players in a way that you would have thought they had won a championship. You would have thought they had just won the Super Bowl. And in fact, they had just won a game in the middle of October that, in the grand scheme of things, didn't mean a lot, but to these people it meant everything. And I remember being down on the field at that time, and what I remember the fans saying as they surrounded the coaches and the players was the fans were saying, "Thank you, thank you." They weren't saying, "Way to go." They weren't saying, "You kicked their butts." They weren't saying, what the fans were saying, by and large, was thank you. And I just thought that was so sweet in a way, that this meant that much to these people, that you gave them a day when they could actually celebrate beating the Dallas Cowboys. And what they wanted to do was not just pat them on the back and say, you know, great, you won a big game. It was thanks because of what it means to me. That to me kind of underscored why Philadelphia fans and their connection with this team is different than in other cities. I mean, it really is a family kind of thing, and that's kind of how I think the people in this city view this team. It's part of your family. And when people complain about, when people sometimes say Philadelphia fans are negative and they boo and they get critical, well, yeah, they do. When the team underperforms or when a team plays poorly, yeah, the fans get mad and they boo and they express their disappointment. And I've often said that's the same thing as you are with your family. You know, there are people in your family that make you mad. There are people in your family that let you down. And when they do, you tell them about it. But it doesn't mean to stop loving them, you know, and you hope that tomorrow they can go out and be better. Well, it's the same thing with this team. You know, you get disappointed when they lose, you get mad at them when they lose, but at the same point, there's a feeling that you're expressing that, you know, you got another game next week, come on, do better. I know you can do better. And I really do think that's the connection that exists here to a greater degree than it does in other cities. What surprised me was something that probably shouldn't have surprised me, which is how much changes in professional sports. You tell people that 9 years, it doesn't seem like a long time, but in professional sports, it really is a long time, and a lot changes. And the Philadelphia Eagles have changed a lot. I mean, when we did the first book, Andy Reid was the head coach, riding a wave of success. and now he's gone in Kansas City, and Chip Kelly's in here coaching the team. You know, Donovan McNabb, who was kind of a franchise quarterback, is gone, is retired from football now. Michael Vick has come and gone, and now you have Nick Foles, who's showing signs of maybe being a real star, is emerging on this team. And you have a young player like LaShawn McCoy, who was in high school when this book first came out, and now has already played 5 seasons in the NFL, and looks like he's on his way to a great career, if not a Hall of Fame career. So one of the things that struck me was, you think about updating the book, you think it's not going to be that big a job. I mean, how much can change? Well, I found out that a lot has changed. The Eagles-Cowboys rivalry is a constant. That's one of the things about this book that when I was looking over the first book in preparation of writing this book, I thought about, you know, if there's anything missing from the first book, it really is one chapter that just deals strictly with the Eagles and Cowboys rivalry and how it began and how it grew and why it exists. I mean, in the first book, there are a million elements of Eagles-Cowboys in different chapters, big games and things that happened. But I just felt like it really sort of cried out for one chapter that kind of pulled it all together and just dealt with that as a theme. So that was one of the things I wanted to add to the book, and I did. And it was, Eagles-Cowboys rivalry is, it's funny because it exists regardless of the team's records. I mean, you would think a rivalry is built around, there's intensity going into a game if the two teams are really playing for something. If they have similar records, one needs to beat the other to get to the playoffs. And we've had those seasons. But we've also had seasons where one team was really good and the other team was really bad. Or we've had seasons where both teams were really bad. And it doesn't matter. When the two teams play each other, there is an emotional component to it that's different than everything else. That's certainly true in Philadelphia. And so that was a real fun chapter to write, which was going back and interviewing some of the guys who have played in these games and just saying, why is it? You know, why is it when the Eagles play the Cowboys that it feels different? You know, what is it you feel about that team that you don't feel about other teams? And it's if you're an Eagles fan, it's inseparable in terms of your feeling about the team. You're excited every Sunday, but you're especially excited when it's the Cowboys because there's without question that is their rival.